what the traffickers are looking for, they're looking for someone who has no self-esteem, looking for love, looking to be complimented. And if you don't have that at home, you're going to look elsewhere for it.
Welcome to Old Guy Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently, other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
This is Orris, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com, a podcast dedicated to helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. And I admit to a little bit of an unusual situation here, because the old guy is known to take even difficult subjects and put a bit of humor into them. And I can't think of anything humorous about this subject that we're going to talk about, because we're going to be talking about sex trafficking. And there's nothing funny about it. There's no jokes about it. It's a very serious problem. And today we have my guest is Lena Walther, and she's the Honorary Consul of Sweden to Nevada. And as a consul, Lena also promotes the Swedish Model for combating trafficking and primarily reaches out to legislators that can make a difference. In 2014, she co-founded a 501c3 nonprofit organization, Awareness and Prevention, which brings awareness of sex trafficking of minors. And through targeted training programs for school-age children and their parents, and an awareness through the arts programs for vulnerable youth, AIP focuses on training and educating aspects in fighting child sex trafficking. The organization also arranges training of law enforcement agencies, as well as schools and NGOs. So, Lena, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, one of the things that many people don't realize is how prevalent is sex trafficking?
It's everywhere. And after the pandemic, it has, I can easily say, tripled, quadrupled, or more. It's absolutely frightening what's going on with all these school children on their laptops for at least a year and a half, infiltrated by traffickers into the programs through the school. Google was given to them the program, and they had no safety features on it. They finally implemented that in September this year, but it was a year too late. So you had all these kids could access absolutely everything on the internet, whether they wanted to or not. In addition, not only when they were working with school programs, but they do a lot of games and other things online. And the traffickers and the pedophiles, they infiltrate these and pretend to be someone they are not, and they can communicate directly with the kids. That's the scary part. And we have had a big campaign going starting last year in August. We teamed up with a UK organization, Internet Protection of Children, IPOC, and we were going after an online site called onlyfans.com. Mm-hmm. Sounds very non-suspicious, but it's actually turned into a real porn site almost. And you have the content providers, the people that upload videos and photos, and then you have the subscribers, and they have a very, very tricky paywall. That's why it's hard for law enforcement to do anything, because they can't infiltrate, they can't go in the back of the paywall. But what happens here is you have a lot of infiltrators that are contacting young kids through TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, whatever they are on, and they entice them to go on OnlyFans. OnlyFans, what we have tried, and by we start going after OnlyFans, was they had no age verification.
Mhm.
It didn't work. I mean, they just asked someone to hold up an ID next to their face, and there were girls that were holding up their grandma's ID and no problem. So absolutely no age verification. I don't care what 18 years old and over is doing. They're more than welcome to do whatever they want, but I'm trying to protect kids. And we have dealt with Congress, and we have written Department of Justice, and we have done a lot of things to make them realize what is really going on. So anyway, these infiltrators, these traffickers, these pedophiles, they contact the young boys and girls, it's not only girls, on other social media and entice them to go on OnlyFans and start uploading content. And they communicate directly with them, and then they pay them through the paywall. They are the subscribers, and it just gets worse and worse. And then, you know, yeah, you can put a little picture up on your face, maybe your whole body. How about taking that little top off? And, you know, it just goes on and
Sure.
on. What happens to these pictures and these videos will a lot of times end up on a porn site. And this has become a major problem. And before the pandemic, I mean, OnlyFans has only been in existence in 2016. It started in the UK. And before the pandemic, before 2020, it was about 20 million creator providers and 200,000 creators and 20 million subscribers. Today, you have 450,000, more than double of the content providers, the creators, and you have over 30 million subscribers. That's how fast it has grown during the pandemic. And this goes for a lot of the online sites. And since the traffickers and the pedophiles have not been able to get to kids, you know, through schools, through movie theaters, through the shopping centers, nothing, the malls where normally you go and hunting for them, everything is online today, everything.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to catch.
So I imagine there's, for some of these kids, there's an opportunity for the, you know, if they've uploaded some pictures that they might be embarrassed about, that there's an opportunity for them to be blackmailed into further
totally.
activity.
It's a new word called sextortion.
Okay.
It's the new word for that kind of blackmailing, and they will threaten them that they're going to distribute it throughout their whole school to see, and their family and everybody. They know where they live, they know their names, they know everything about them.
So yeah, that's a sad result of some stuff that's going on in COVID. As far as the, you know, right now, what's the numbers in terms of what kids that are trafficked across international borders every day or every year?
There are no clear numbers. To be real honest with you, I really don't believe in statistics, because statistics is only based on what you find. There's so many you don't find.
Right.
But there's about 300,000 kids every year in danger of being trafficked.
Okay.
I mean, they're staggering numbers. And we think here in the US, oh, well, it's all this foreign women, foreign kids. No. It's American women and American children in the States. It's not that many foreign ones.
Yeah,
Foreign ones are in Asia. It's a whole different thing. And you also have more labor trafficking in those countries.
Yeah. So how young do they start trafficking some of these kids?
About 11.
About 11. Okay.
11, 12. It's a lot easier to control a young person than a little bit older person. Secondly, they become a collateral, these poor little kids, and you sell them over and over again. You can sell them so many more times if they're young.
Okay, so you mean from one person to another, from one person to another. If how, you know, now you get these kids into the sex trade, and they're basically slaves. How long did they last in this area?
About 5 to 7 years. is the
Wow.
lifespan. They get no medical treatment. They don't get fed. They get drugged. They get a lot of drugs, and they get beaten. Yeah, they're young kids. They don't survive.
Yeah. So what happens? What happens to them at the end of that time?
Well, if they don't get rescued, which is not easy to do, but if they don't get rescued, they won't survive. You can't survive maltreatments like that.
So you're saying that they end up dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible way to go. So take us into the life of on a daily basis of someone who is being trafficked as a sex slave. And let's say here, I mean, we're here in Las Vegas, and I understand Las Vegas is actually one of the centers of sex trafficking. So typically, what would the life be of a young woman who is being trafficked as a sex slave here in Las Vegas?
Well, there are different scenarios. One of maybe the scariest ones, that's the hardest one to realize what's going on. They are trafficked either by a family member or a boyfriend. And sometimes, especially if it's a so-called boyfriend that they regard as a boyfriend, they are deeply in love with that person. They don't even realize they're being trafficked. They just have this agreement. She has to do certain things with certain people and to make him happy, and they're working together on this. I mean, it's frightening. And if you were to ask this young woman if she realizes what's going on, she says, well, he's my boyfriend. I'm just helping him out. That's one scenario. They don't even understand it. If it's a family member, unfortunately, it can be an uncle, it can be seldom the real brother, but maybe stepbrother, stepfather, whatever. And they're very embarrassed about it, and they don't know whom to talk to. It's family. Of course, you have the violent ones that keep you like a prisoner, and you get drugged and you get beaten and so on. And then, of course, those young women, they know that they are being trapped, and they're too scared to flee. They wouldn't dare to escape. Do you remember the story with Elizabeth Smart up in Utah?
Yes.
I heard her speak once. She's a wonderful, wonderful speaker. And someone was asking her, because when she was rescued, she was walking between her captivator, the man and a woman who kept her captive, and she was walking in plain sight on the street. And that wasn't the first time. And someone was asking her, but why didn't you say something? Why didn't you call out, say, help me, help me? She says, you had no idea how scared you are. The only thing you can think of is, how am I going to survive the next hour? You wouldn't even dream of screaming or doing anything. You are completely paralyzed. And she said the person who rescued her, he recognized her, and he just went over to her, got hold of her, dragged her, and ran with her. And he probably, if he had asked her, are you Elizabeth Smart, she wouldn't even have dared to say anything. It's the trauma that's so deep, so it's hard to understand. They are totally frightened.
I knew she was rescued by a chance
No,
occurrence.
she was rescued in broad daylight by someone who recognized her.
Do you need accountability? Are you looking to change the course of your life but have failed to keep on track? Too often we take in information and fail to act. Do you need an accountability program to stay the course? Then go to www.thestandard.academy and find out about my accountability program that goes with my course that helps you find out what you want, why you want it, and how to get it. The accountability program keeps you on track to get results.
Obviously, this is a very lucrative thing for people that are running these sex slaves. What is the finances here in terms of how much money can a person make for someone that's running them as a sex slave?
Okay. The whole industry is $150 billion a year industry.
Wow.
It has surpassed drug trafficking and arms trafficking. It's the most profitable business in the world. An average trafficker in the States will make about 200,000 per girl per year. And if he has 5 girls, that's $1 million tax-free.
Free, sure,
Cash money. There is
Yeah.
also a lot of money laundering going on through this. There's a lot of things going on internationally with payments and so on of this.
Those are staggering amounts of money, and it's it's kind of sad. Have you seen in your organization with our borders being so open, have you seen an increase in sex trafficking?
Oh yeah.
As a result of that, and tell us a little bit about how the open borders are affecting sex trafficking.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. This whole thing with everything is online today, and it's a lot easier to reach a lot of people online than do it in person or whatever. It's very easy to reach people online. You have the whole spectrum in front of you, and if you know how to manipulate some of these games and social sites and so on, it's all there.
Yeah, no, I was talking about with the open borders that we have now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's I can't even put my finger on it how much it is. All these kids coming in, they've already been sold before they even get here. Most of them are not traveling with parents. They are traveling with coyotes, they call them, that have already purchased them. And it's unbelievable what's going on.
I just can't imagine. It seems like you hear anecdotal stories about all of a sudden these mysterious relatives show up and pick up only the girls, or mostly the girls, but not the boys at these centers that house the people that come across the border.
Exactly.
Yeah. When one of the things that I read here was that not having a father in the house impacts the trafficking situation, sexual abuse. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think abuse and in general, if you don't have a father figure, it doesn't have to be the father, but the father figure in the house that is strong enough so you feel safe and secure, you are much more likely to fall victim. Because what the traffickers are looking for, they're looking for someone who has no self-esteem, looking for love, looking to be complimented. And if you don't have that at home, you're going to look elsewhere for it. And those are prime targets. Sure.
Well, that's how people, what the statistic is, that 60% of people that are incarcerated in jail, in prison, come from no father families.
Yeah,
it's a huge impact, and we were seeing the explosion of that quite even more so, because that's becoming more prevalent. It used to be rarity, and now it's becoming much more common.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I think we really have to rethink a little bit family situations and how important it is to have a nuclear family.
Yeah, it's well, there's lots of stuff that's kind of pointing in a different direction. I know that a lot of these kids they're kids in terms of their kids having babies. And you see that, and it's kind of like I can't believe you're having a baby. But how is law enforcement factoring in to basically controlling or fighting sex trafficking?
Well, they have a specialized unit who is highly trained, and but they can't be everywhere. They need people to help out too. They used to have a campaign, everything has changed with the pandemic, but before the pandemic, they started the campaign, see something, say something. Meaning you see something that doesn't look right, pick up the phone and call 311 and report it. You can be anonymous. You don't have to give your name if you don't want to. But for example, in a neighborhood, you see something suspicious going on in a home. It's definitely not your normal family situation. There are men coming and going or whatever. Call and report the address. They will investigate. Things like that, they can't see on their own. There is no way. They can't be everywhere. They're very, very dependent on people reporting things, and they will check up on it.
Yeah. Well, people are, I think, under the mistaken idea or concept that these houses that have these sex slaves are in bad areas of town. And that's actually not true. A lot of them are actually, I think there's a couple of famous ones here in Las Vegas that were actually in gated communities.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Because, you know, especially remember in the house crisis a number of years ago when you couldn't get a loan. Well, guess who could buy the big homes? The ones who paid cash. A lot of those were traffickers.
Yeah.
And they are in very nice neighborhoods, and they're very large homes. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of, so you said, what can someone be looking out for specifically, especially like in a neighborhood that might say that's something's not right? I think you mentioned about a few
I would
things.
say if you see a place, you really can't. People coming and going a lot, especially men coming and going. Very few people that you presume resides there leave the house, but people come and go, and normally you can't see in. You wouldn't have any access to looking in or anything like that. I think you should raise suspicion. And it's not like you're not doing any harm by reporting it. Stay anonymous if you want to, and they will look into it, and they won't. There's no way for anyone to know who called in.
Okay.
I mean, it's not worse than calling in from a neighbor's barking dog. So it would be a normal thing to do. Listen, something seems to be going on in the house here in the neighborhood. I don't feel comfortable about it. It looks strange.
Sure. And the police will come out and investigate it, and if it's nothing, it's fine. And it could be sex trafficking, it could be drugs, it could be a whole bunch of things going on.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Or all. I'm sure that people that engage in sex trafficking are not exclusive, or would not feel bad about selling drugs too.
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah,
of course not. And but you can hit it right and do a really good deed.
Yeah.
Save some lives.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your organization and the website, and what does your organization do?
Well, we're trying to bring awareness. That's the name. Awareness is prevention. And the name came about when I was speaking to a class at UNLV a long time ago, and one of the students raised her arm and she said, "Well, how can we prevent this from happening to us?" And I said, awareness. If you're aware of what is going on, you're going to be much more careful. You're going to recognize the signs, and you can prevent from becoming a victim. But you have to be aware. If you're not aware of what's going on, you're going to fall for a lot of this. Same goes for parents. Teachers, we have done quite a bit of training in the schools. We train the teachers, the social workers, the counselors. And when we started, they really didn't know what to look for. And parents need to know too. You got to know what to look for in your kids, for example. What are the signs when they're becoming withdrawn, they start getting bad grades, all of a sudden they have all this new stuff that someone gave them, or they have a new boyfriend, and it's all kinds of things. And people are busy, parents are busy, but you have to know what your kids are doing.
Yeah. So when someone gets rescued, is there a typical scenario that happens when they get rescued, or how does that work?
Well, it's different scenarios. Sadly, very sadly, here in Las Vegas, we don't have a safe house for minors. Only a few. I think there is one now. You can have about six 6 girls only, but they're building a safe house for minors, and it should be ready in another year and a half or so. And so if it's a minor that's being rescued, they literally have to take them to the juvenile detention center to be safe, even though it is virtually a jail to the girl, but they have to get away from the trafficker. And there is no safe place. If they are over 18, there are several very good safe houses here, Safe Nest and others that they will take them to. And if you ever drive by Safe Nest, for example, it's behind the big chain link fence for a reason. And so it's a lot of things needs to be done with after the fact, and they need a lot of services and help with therapists, specialized therapists, and everything. It's a traumatic thing they're being rescued from, and it takes a long time to bring that person back.
I would imagine that there's a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of loss of trust that exists in people that have been victims of sex trafficking. Yeah,
and sometimes if it's a minor, they're trying to reconnect them with their family, especially if they were runaways. And then they bring them back to the families, for example. It's different scenarios so often, so it's hard to give a generalized thing.
I'm having a hard time comprehending the idea of a man going to a hotel and paying for sex with a young child.
Yeah, especially if they have young children themselves.
Yeah, it's just like I can't get my hands around it.
A lot of us can't. A lot of us cannot do it. It's I blame a lot of this situation on child pornography. Or pornography in general, but especially child pornography. What is the charm with a little child?
That's well, there is a certain amount of pornification that's going on in our society these days, and that girls are, from the music to clothes to everything else, and it's actually kind of amazing thing. So, but it's so pretty sad. And could you give us your website again, please?
Yeah, it's aipnv.org. aipnv.org.
Okay, and so then if you're interested in helping and getting involved in this, please go to that website, and it'll be in the program notes, and we can we'll talk about that more. But no, that's like I said, Lena, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a horrible topic. I wish we weren't talking about it, but we are.
We have to. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to talk about the stuff that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah,
because that's the important stuff. All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you
so
again.
Much.
All right.
Thank you.
This is Oris, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com. Remember, it's all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orist and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2, share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3, leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.